Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, I-Man.
What's going on, dude?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, dude, let's talk about the Metaverse shutting down.
It's over?
It's over. $80 billion is down the toilet.
It's vaporized by the Zuck. The Zuck has struck once again, dude.
How could we shut down the Metaverse when it looks like this, dude?
I mean, that looks like a very enjoyable experience to me.
Inviting, right?
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want the Eiffel Tower and whatever that pine cone land behind it is? I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like a Russian mosque.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got a cross up there, actually.
Yep.
Wow.
Even Zuck's eyes in the metaverse look dead, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying this was like a selfie-generated image, right? Potentially?
I think so. I think in Meta Horizon, the virtual environment, you could take a selfie.
Oh, I see. It wasn't like him and human pulled out his phone, took a selfie, and then 3D rendered this representation of him.
No.
It's like this is his avatar.
Yes.
He's in the horizon.
Yeah.
I think that's where this image came from. And this is his flagship, photo op.
Yeah.
Like where this is the shot.
Yeah.
That's gonna really convince the masses that they want to be here.
Yep.
Not on the internet.
Correct.
Which was the whole thesis, right? He was pretty adamant about this, along with a lot of society.
Yeah.
And you got to bring in the context of the times, right? Like this is like post-COVID.
Sure.
So people were already kind of struggling with this whole, I don't know, maybe the new world is more of an isolated type of thing.
Yeah. He watched Ready Player One. He was like, let's do this.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Did the movie also come around?
No. It was before that.
Okay. Yeah, it's just the chatter got really strong. I mean, obviously we lived this firsthand experience. We started developing basically the beginning of this channel in around 2019.
2019, yeah.
That's when we discovered Decentraland. Right?
Yep. And
we were in there.
Yeah, we were in there in the alpha stages and beta stages.
Yeah, we were in there hard, dude.
Yes.
So if you're curious if you have no exposure to this metaverse stuff, and even more specifically, the crypto version of that, and you're looking for some sort of, content, you just look at some of our old videos. We were actively building, deploying applications, really experimenting on what is even possible here.
Yeah, Decentraland Mana, when we got into it, it was maybe 2 or 3 cents. And once Zuckerberg changed their name from Facebook to Meta, it went from 30 cents to $5.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was huge. That was
it was massive.
Yeah, 250x or whatever it was.
Yeah. So the people who were again early pioneers into the Web3 metaverse space, we called it the open metaverse back then because that's the context of crypto, right? Whenever you do anything crypto, you always got to have a big bad wolf in the room.
Yeah.
And it's typically big tech.
Yeah. Meta, Facebook.
Yeah. Meta, NVIDIA. These companies are closed metaverse, right? Meaning they're just going to try and bring you in and siphon as much data from you as they can.
Correct.
Which is what they do for all their other products, right? So crypto is supposed to be the antidote to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so they're essentially shutting down after spending $80 billion into the project. Now, I don't know exactly what they're shutting down. Obviously, they're keeping their Oculus systems afloat here, and that's generating them some good money. So people actually like those headsets.
Yeah.
I think I read something that it was just Horizon Worlds.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, but the $80 billion figure comes from how much Reality Labs has spent, maybe?
Pretty much, yeah.
Which that encompasses all the tech arms that they were working.
Which was hardware stuff,
AI,
analytics,
things.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they did a one of those keynotes or whatever.
Yeah. And
Zuckerberg was showing off a lot of what we thought at the time was pretty groundbreaking technology.
Yeah,
I think it still is.
He had an interview with Lex Friedman in the Metaverse.
Oh yeah,
and it was great.
I remember that.
It's fantastic.
It was cool. Lex was vibing with it. It's I don't mind having my podcast.
I would absolutely put on a headset to listen to a conversation in 3D, two talking heads like that.
Yeah, just to be in the room.
Yeah.
For sure. Jensen was just on the All In podcast, right?
Yeah.
It would have been cool to be in there as they're having that combo.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? So yeah, it begs the question. It's I don't know. It's is the metaverse actually dead?
Well,
like, meaning like, if not, like, well, what is it missing for it to actually become?
well, some sort of technology is missing in the same way that AI has been in development for 30 years, and then all of a sudden someone came up with generative transformers,
Okay.
and then you could talk to AI and it could actually produce something of value at the time. GPT,
Right.
Chat GPT.
So in other words, a killer app.
Yeah, and the killer app is probably a combination of like costs and something useful, right? Because right now it takes a lot of money to make a video game. It takes a lot of money to make a movie. Sometimes more to make a video game.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about the metaverse, which is using video game technology.
Well, that's interesting then. So what you're saying though, all these things you just kind of listed out, their cost efficiencies, I guess, the cost barriers get dramatically reduced because of AI.
Yes.
Right? So it's like maybe like what a missed opportunity in a sense, like to not position their metaverse platform as like an experimental grounds for
agree.
AI in the metaverse, right? Like, well, why they're pivoting strongly into AI. Why wouldn't they demonstrate the value of their AI in the metaverse?
Yeah, and they're kind of falling behind in the AI race too, right? So they're not exactly having a good time right now.
That's true.
So they probably feel like it's very important for them to stay in the race when it comes to AI. But right now, it's OpenAI and Anthropic really running.
That's a good point.
Running the race here.
Yeah, the AI race is like a real thing. It's not even a race anymore. It's like a war at this point.
It is a war, absolutely war.
Yeah.
Yeah, Microsoft is suing OpenAI. OpenAI just did a deal with Google, and they weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Sam is really like just going all in, all out.
He's blitzkrieging his way through the industry, and I don't know what to make of it either. It's like, is this just like what a goat looks like?
Yeah, maybe.
you know, maybe. It's kind of like what you would expect. Like if Michael Jordan was a tech CEO, he'd probably be like this. Like he's just out to kill his enemies, basically.
Yes.
Right. But it just at the same time is like, dude, calm down. You know.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of loyalty, a little bit of like,
Yeah, at least follow the rules in the contract. At least.
That would be a good start.
Yeah. Or maybe not. If you're the GOAT, you just run.
Yeah, contracts are like for you. Like
they're for you, not for me.
Lesser mortals, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. But nonetheless, so, yeah, you're right. Meta is struggling for sure. So they might just, whatever expenses that are going into the metaverse division, it's just, time to sunset them because, they're making huge bets. And like you're saying, they're behind. So
yeah,
it's a little bit of a scrambling happening. But nonetheless, this is opportune for people like us who still believe in the thesis of the metaverse.
Sure.
And, like refactor our own like interpretations. Like, how do we arrive to some sort of ChatGPT moment?
Our thesis still hasn't changed. It is ultimately, if AI really does take over, a lot of people are going to have a lot of time. And what are they going to do with their time? If they have abundance, like Elon is saying, Jensen is saying that, Sam Altman is saying that, all these like AI OGs are saying that there's going to be abundance. So, what are we going to do? And I feel like humans are going to spend time in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's not even what are you going to, or just what are you going to do? It's also like, how do you find new like identity and purpose of things, I guess. It's like, the labor economy kind of gets, human involvement into that is stripped away.
Yeah.
Like, therefore, you can't just identify your life's purpose to your career anymore. At least most of us will not like enter into this like simulation and be given that like package of understanding, you know, through the education system.
Yeah. So and we have good examples of the metaverse kind of working with Roblox. I don't really understand why so many kids are in Roblox, but they spend a lot of time to the tune of 100 million monthly active users.
I mean, it's just good vibes, dude.
It must be.
It's good vibes, and it's like an endless swirl of like things to do.
Yeah,
because it changes. It's like dynamic, new experiences are always generated. No development team can keep up, I guess, with like a UGC engine.
Yeah,
it's like when a community's kind of in charge of like.
Yeah, so then
identifying trends and then like building products around that.
Yeah, so now imagine instead of UGC coming from humans, it comes from agents. And it's really coming from vibe coders, who are using agents to build out experiences.
Yeah, again, seems odd. Like the fact that we're at that inflection point in time, it's like you pull your name out of the hat, like for that new race, right? It's just everyone's just gonna surrender to Roblox. Like that's crazy.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, it is what's happening. I mean, okay, sure. I guess that's one way to approach this.
Yeah, and you would imagine Roblox, they're sitting in their throne's chair, and they're probably feeling a little complacent. It's like, we did it, guys. Like, we could just like cruise here and take our time.
That's whenever like some indie squad.
Yeah, Peter Steinberger comes in. It's like
Open claws the metaverse.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That I think that is a very much a viable possibility. Maybe it's Bitmap, dude.
for sure.
Bitmap's a whole new like interpretation and flavor of like, you know, at least at a foundational level, what a metaverse can be. But yeah, it's Bitmap plus like some open claw level degree of technology primitive.
Yeah, development assistance.
Yeah, direly needed.
Yeah. So that's absolutely possible. But of course, we have some comedians here who's basically dogpiling on the whole metaverse thing. And so, for example, he says, my net worth peaked at $1.2 million, but none of it was real. I don't mean the philosophically. I mean it was located on servers that have been since turned off. I own 11 properties in the metaverse, 3 in Decentraland, 4 in the Sandbox, 2 in the voxels, 1 in the other side, and a beachfront villa in Horizon Worlds that I bought for $214,000 because Mark Zuckerberg called it the next frontier.
That's insane. Somebody needs to verify that claim. I didn't know they were selling.
I don't think they were. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But the other stuff checks out though.
Yeah.
You know, the Web3 stuff, there was definitely some exuberant spending going on.
Yeah. The Frontier closed last week. It's a mobile app now. Last year, I mass DM 340 people the phrase, "You don't understand how early we are." I have since stopped doing that. Not because I was wrong, because most of them blocked me. Yeah, so if you read through this, it's theater.
It's a disaster piece.
Yeah.
If there was such a thing.
It's fun read.
Is it fun, dude?
Yeah, it's absolutely fun.
To like reminisce on I don't know, like
what could have been
or what was, and then what
ended up,
what became not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, holy shit, dude. And you could apply this same thing to like NFTs.
Yeah, people really lost their shirts on some of this stuff.
In a couple of years, maybe it'll be like meme coins, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's more grave dancing, right? But,
yeah.
But again, it's, you know, is it like an actual final grave? I don't think so.
No way. No way.
Yeah. So if you're truly like a metaverse supporter, believer, you know, again, take this as like an opportunity, like your opportunity horizons, you know, they've expanded significantly, right?
Sure.
A big competitor has like left the arena. So
yeah, Horizon may have left, but there's still a Horizon to
there you
go after.
Freaking rainbows and sparkles, dude. We need that B-roll edit, you know. We're trying to inject some hopium out there.
Yeah. Well, Barry is doing his part.
Yeah.
Barry Silbert basically sent a message to Decentraland and say, where can I read up on efforts to deploy AI in or around Decentraland for builders, visitors, etc. So we were looking at this tweet and we're like,
Yeah, that's a very odd tweet. If you know the context of who this man is,
yeah,
and like his investments, right? Decentraland being one of them.
Yes.
You know, he's
they created a whole ETF on Metaverse.
Yeah, right. So this guy is largely responsible, I think, for like, you know, getting the whole Web3 Metaverse, you know, thing off the ground.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah, so that means he has like direct access of communication to this team. He doesn't need to publicly at them. He's like, hey, anybody out there in Decentraland want to like inform me of like AI progress? That means like a couple of things. Either like the communication channel is like shut down for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or he's just like frustrated to no end and like trying to like publicly expose the fact that like these legacy metaverse platforms are not doing enough to arrive to that inflection point we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, guys,
Yeah, I mean,
are you not reading the room?
yeah, if I were Decentraland, I would be all in on AI agent implementation into the metaverse
Yeah.
and the
Stop.
ability to create stuff through agents.
Yeah, like take a break from the dancing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we took a peek at what's going on in Decentraland, still dancing,
They're still partying, dude.
and they're still doing fashion shows.
Every week. Well, no. It's called Fashion Week, but I think it only happens one week of the year, but still.
Every week is Fashion Week, dude.
I agree. It's just, come on, guys. You got to advance a bit, you know. And it's, I don't know, it's a complacency thing, you know.
It's a leadership thing. It's ultimately a leadership thing.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, again, so if you're like some indie dev, again, you're identifying this as an opportunity and you have a vision of how you can like move the metaverse space forward.
Yeah.
There's no better time than now to like actually execute on that because you have AI by your side.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there's some AI stuff happening in there, but it's not anywhere visible, according to Barry here.
yeah. So again, more despair
Yeah.
for the metaverse sector.
But
Oh.
Sandbox, though,
Sandbox is still around too.
they're killing it.
What are they doing?
It says the Sandbox Next is coming.
Okay.
It's fully mobile. It's built on Unreal Engine, and it's powered by Sand. And so I look at this video. I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool. It's sort of like an arena shooter-esque, but zombies involved to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't. I mean, I look at this and then I look at kids playing Roblox.
It's no different, right? So
it's not that far off. So what's the problem here, dude?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the economics is a problem here, right? So this land costs money, right? In Roblox, it's not the same situation, and so there needs to be a reason to buy land and host a lot of this content. And so this, to me, looks like somebody just created a game that you just like jump into and play, but it has no implications on the wider metaverse land that you can own.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think it's just I don't know. Through whatever means that they've probably developed, they just haven't been able to attract enough of like a creator base, I guess, because that's the thing that Roblox has over everything. It's just there's so many people within that economic loop, like just making the attempt, right? Because like you're saying, it's the player liquidity is there, so like the incentives align. It's like to my efforts, right? So, and all these other competing platforms, that's not the case, right? So, trying to claim market share or mind share from creators, developers, whatever, it's going to be a challenge. So you got to offer something truly groundbreakingly unique, I guess.
Yeah, the opportunity is there. These companies need to be training their own LLM that could help developers build this stuff through vibe coding. They need to be doing that. If you're not doing that, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're hiring like devs to do this? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, give it a few more months, dude. Everybody's going to catch up.
What's happening, dude?
I don't know.
All right. So SEC, though, finally some good news.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if this is the big news we've been waiting for like a year. I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is for a year.
Yeah,
We've been hoping this day would come after about 10 years.
Like this is the clarity, I guess, that everybody was talking about?
I believe it is.
Okay. Now, does it feel like things have changed?
Well, I feel like you could breathe a little easier. I feel like the air has changed a little bit.
Right. So what this does, it gives founders or people who want to deploy assets in the Web3 space more confidence that, they're not going to get these slap on the wrist notices down the line.
Or handcuffs.
Very rarely. I've seen a lot of crazy shit in my day in this crypto space. Not that many handcuffs,
That's true. It's like a handful, like 2 or 3.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do some pretty insane shit to get like truly cuffed out there. Yeah. But it happens.
All right. So what are we talking about? So the commission issued an interpretation that clarifies the application of federal securities laws to crypto assets. This is a major step to provide greater clarity regarding the commission's treatment of crypto assets. Read the release here below. ultimately, memes, NFTs, a whole bunch of other stuff is not considered securities.
Very nice.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
I don't know if we have this open.
But yeah, the assets themselves maybe not, but the means of how they're like issued still can fall within like the bounds of
absolutely. Yeah, if you are doing an ICO and you are telling people that number is going to go up based off the activity of the launchers, then that's a security.
Yeah, and then they say it's fine as long if you're saying that, as long as you like fulfill the obligations of what it is you like, you said during that initiation stage. Like once it's fulfilled, then it's like no longer a security; it's a commodity now.
Yeah, so people are really going to make that into a huge gray area. It's like we promised to do this and put up a website, and this and that, and then they just accomplish the 2 or 3 things, and
yeah.
So this still can be gamed, so you still have to be careful. And to a certain extent, Americans have yet to be allowed to participate in ICOs.
Right.
So I think that's coming next as well.
Yeah.
They're coming up with some sort of test or something where Americans who are deemed savvy can participate in securities.
Yeah, well, considering this is such like hot news, you go look at the charts, not much reaction happening there. I think Bitcoin like popped for like a day.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because of this though. I don't know.
But I'm just saying, like, this is more like evidence, I guess, that we're like pretty much like deep in bear market territory. Like you would expect news like this to like really accelerate things, but that's not the part of the market cycle we're in. So it's being like probably quietly, I don't know, it's like, it doesn't feel like a big deal, but in the long term, you point to these types of events as like, this is really like industry cement here, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is definitely foundation. So digital commodities, collectibles, and tools, not securities. Stablecoins, Genius Act and stablecoins, not securities. And digital securities or tokenized securities are still securities. So basically, Coinbase is securitizing a lot of stocks, and those are still securities. So, but yeah.
It's pretty intuitive.
Yeah, for sure. So finally, some good news.
Yeah, good news, and I think, I don't know, like some confidence boosters that, this is pretty normal, I think. Like we've been through 3 cycles now.
Yeah, I think what you're basically going to say is that people have been operating under these conditions anyways without the clarifications, without the clarity.
Yes, for sure. But, it's more of a question of like with these new actual vectors of clarity, will new participants enter the market? Probably. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, I could see a resurgence here.
I mean, it's this in combination with some new like product market fit discovery, I guess. It's like once the AI agent like infrastructure loops are a little bit more hardwired and more experimentation comes, then it's like, all right, we got a new product category, I guess, to kind of issue and initiate out here in the crypto world. Now we have like a rubric to follow.
Yeah.
How to make sure it's like within bounds of the law. So that should be good overall from like a bullish sentiment perspective on crypto, right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, because it doesn't look good. I mean, if you looked at the Vanity Fair thing.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Pull up a picture of that.
It wasn't.
Have you seen that, TJ?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did the video on it.
Oh, we did? Yeah, you got that on top of like every single day there's like a new tweet of some founder, some CEO of like a reputable Web3 crypto company kind of like announcing his exit and his AI pivot, right? Like Masari just had one.
Yep.
There's like some guys at like Blockworks or something like that also announcing their exodus. So it's like, God damn, dude. You haven't seen like this degree of, industry outflow.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I agree. Yeah, and on top of that, there's been some notable players who are claiming that crypto's kind of dead, and not only are they leaving, but they're kind of like setting the forest on fire before they go.
Yeah, what's with that, dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was just a Magic Eden strategy, but yeah, that's just how you do it. It's like Vietnam all over again.
Carpet bombing?
Yeah, you don't just leave. You like napalm the whole village before you step out, before the Fucking chopper ride out of there, dude. Light everything ablaze.
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a great song.
It is a great song. But somebody should make that video. It's like, this is what crypto
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is what crypto feels like right now. It's just like a fucking carpet bombing, dude. But again, we've seen this repeat over and over and over and
Yeah,
over
this is
again.
our third round, dude, I think.
This is our third round, yeah. So like
and it always feels like this.
yeah, it always feels like massive disappointment and like
Almost no hope. Like, how are we going to come back after this?
we're literally back to the doom loop. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember banks were collapsing 2 or 3 years ago. Banks collapsing. And a lot of them had to deal with crypto and tech industry, and they were collapsing.
Yeah,
Right,
it
so
depegged USDC for a moment.
Yes.
That was insane.
yeah,
Terrifying.
I couldn't believe it. Like, it was actually falling apart.
Yeah.
But then we came back.
We did come back.
I mean, not to any interesting degree did we come back, but we came back.
Not one, dude.
Not
Not one interesting degree. What about HyperLiquid, you know?
okay. Well, that one's pretty good.
Yeah, it's another thing that was announced. It's like the S&P 500 is getting perpified, perpetualified, whatever you want to say. So it's like there's still some beacons of examples of, you know, there are Web3 angles to product market fit, right? So it's like it's not a
Yeah,
Totally.
Polymarket is one.
yeah, this is like a this cycle thing. Pumped out fun, you know, what
Yeah.
people obviously not all people will embrace it. It's for a certain like demographic of people
Mm-hmm.
to take use of that kind of, you know, innovation.
Yeah, I mean, it was billions in volume.
Still basically is.
Yeah.
Still churns like $1 million a day somehow. There's still people out
crazy.
there memeing, I guess. Or I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right. So
Yeah, so here's that example. So huge congratulations to Trade XYZ and S&P for the historic partnership. And what they're talking about is S&P Dow Indices and Trade XYZ have joined forces to launch the first official S&P 500 perpetual contract, available exclusively on HyperLiquid.
yeah. So good for them. Good for Liquid. Good for Hype. Whatever. If you hold that token, you're one of the ones, dude.
Yeah.
You're one of the ones that are out there holding that token. But for the rest of everybody else out there, you know, this is a pretty bleak time. And then again, you got AI that's like
Taking people's jobs.
taking people's jobs. I think I'm seeing a lot more people claim like bubble territory here, which typically it's like a sign that it's not. Like, you know, when people are aware that bubble's happening and they're like
Yeah.
in mass claiming it is, it's like it's actually not. So I don't know.
All right, so we have a massive investment in AI contributed basically zero to U.S. economic growth last year per Goldman Sachs.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
If you believe in that reporting, then maybe that reinforces those bubble boys out there.
Yeah, we listened to the All In podcast. That's a great podcast. It's very interesting to hear these guys' perspective. But Chamath was in there. Was like, yeah, I pay millions of dollars for these API calls, and I'm not getting millions of dollars in ROI.
Yeah. Well, what's his problem, dude?
I think the first step to AI is reducing your costs, and so therefore companies are cutting people.
Okay.
Right, that's the first step, and that's kind of a good thing. It's like you reduce your workforce by 25%, but your output is exactly the same or more. Right, that's a net gain. Yeah,
but
it's not good for humans though.
But if the output's more, then you would assume that means like more revenue, right? But obviously,
It depends. I mean,
yeah, obviously,
how do you output more app? Right, it's like if you have an app, I guess you get more like features in there, but
yeah, it doesn't necessarily sway like the non.
yeah, it doesn't mean you're making
users.
more money. You might be getting better retention,
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, but
Yeah.
it just depends, right? It's still early days.
Yeah, I agree. And again, this is like you would expect this, like in a new emerging industry. You've got classically this is called FUD, right?
Yeah.
In crypto's sense, it's like whenever crypto's on an uprise, people come in with the FUD. It's like, oh shit, this game here called Axie Infinity that's got millions of people playing. It's generating billions of dollars in like fee volume.
Not sustainable.
It's actually not a sustainable thing. It's a giant Ponzi, right? Yeah.
It's like, quit being a wet blanket.
Yeah. It's just let us industry, dude.
Let us Ponzi, dude.
Yeah. And then eventually those voices become, recognized like, oh shit, they were right.
Yeah.
So I think AI is going to experience that too. Like it's going to be ups and down periods. Right now we're in a very much up period, but who knows? Maybe these FUD vectors are giving us like forewarning. Is like it's going to take a little bit longer than what most people anticipated for like an actual economic upswing to come from all this. Right?
It is. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think people expect that because things are happening so fast, but they're still happening at an exponential pace. And so it'll happen a lot sooner than you think. In the same way, OpenClaw all of a sudden figured out that an agent in your operating system is probably a good idea.
Yeah, see,
which is not necessarily an easy thing to predict, but in hindsight, it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? Again, this is why try not to pay too much attention to the noise out there. If you find value in these things.
Yeah, I think if you're skeptical about what's happening, I would invite you to use an AI agent. Because once you put your hands on it and you have like a good use case for it, right? If you're just a guy and you're not really building stuff and doing stuff and you're not inclined to build anything, an AI agent is not going to help you build nothing.
Yeah, but remember, these things aren't free, right? I mean, they can be very cost minimalized.
Yeah, I mean,
assume they're not.
Yeah, you're going to have to give up their Netflix subscription. And
to iterate.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's like, all right, I'm iterating my ass off here, dude, but I've generated 10 apps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so AI gives you the ability to generate 10 apps, but it doesn't give you the ability to generate 10 of the right apps.
Right, 10 successful ones, or even one.
Or one, yeah.
Even 1 out of 10. It's like, maybe it's just that hard.
Right. I would think so. I mean, anyone has the ability to spin up a company. And just because you can spin up a company doesn't mean you turn into a $1 billion company, right? So you have to be right. And it's no different with AI. It's just with AI, you can iterate much faster, test assumptions significantly faster, and with pretty good quality output, right, as an MVP. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're getting pretty deep into this like AI experimentation loop because we're actually, I think, on a pathway to possibly having 10 apps of our own.
Yeah.
Right? As crazy as that sounds. And to me, that sounds absolutely crazy, right?
It is crazy.
But maybe it's not in this new.
It's the new normal. And here's a really good example of a guy who happens to work in the the chemical engineering industry in Houston. So I have a background in that stuff, so I understand what this guy did and is going through. Yeah. And he developed.
I think he's literally you, dude.
Probably.
In like another dimension. Like if you were still in that industry,
I would. If I was still in that industry, I would absolutely do exactly what he did.
Yeah, like this is you.
Sure, like, absolutely.
Basically, had you never discovered crypto or whatever, right? Like,
yeah,
you're in the industry, but AI is this big fucking deal, and going to work is just a pain in the fucking ass, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're using applications that were built in the 90s, and that type of industry doesn't really change their operations all that different. They do update and do upgrade. I remember working with a bunch of old guys there, and they used to tell me about times where they had to hand draw the diagrams, which are now drawn by computers, but that took a transition, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they don't make updates all that often. And so what this guy did, so he built a full application that industrial contractors are using every day. It reads piping isometric drawings and automatically extracts every weld count, every material spec, every commodity code, which that took around 10 minutes per drawing. Now it takes around 60 seconds. It can do 100 drawings in about 5 minutes, saving days of time. So now his coworkers are using it, and I'm sure his company is like leveraging it. And so he's just a guy. He's not like the guy. He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's a guy who understands like that he's got some new superpower ability, right? And he could use that to his advantage to simplify his process. And so now it's like, okay, what do you do next? He spun up a website, a landing page for this thing because he knows that other people probably need this product too.
Yeah, so here it is. Stop counting manually. Automate your piping takeoffs. And so clearly this is a very niche. Very niche. But that niche is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, and you're explaining to me the consequences of like being wrong in this place.
Oh, yeah.
It's like life and death.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, if you're a professional engineer, you sign off on these schematics and they're wrong and they're implemented in the way that the schematics are designed and it blows up, you're in court.
Right.
Right? They're asking you these questions. They're trying to figure out, did you make the mistake, or is this like, just a structural situation, random event?
Yeah, are you a spy?
Yeah.
What's your country of origin?
Right.
It's like, oh shit, you're brought here to infiltrate, and you're basically a terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, we've
seen
these
lines wrong.
We've seen it happen. Plants explode, not because of these reasons mostly, but bridges collapse. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
Right. If you start cutting corners as a company, people get hurt, and all of a sudden you might find yourself in jail.
Yeah. So all that kind of attributes to like the culture of these types of companies, right? That you have to be, or at least upper management has to be.
Yeah, you're not
ultra sticklers.
You're not the friendly guy. If you're the professional engineer, you're just not that guy, because you're not supposed to be, and your quality of life is on the line.
Right. So then this is a big deal if you live in that world then, right? And it's just an example of, somebody, not working in Silicon Valley, big tech world.
Yeah.
But harboring these like new tools to, streamline, I guess, their own process flows and such.
Yeah.
And if you watched, if you watch one of our videos in the future,
yeah,
it will kind of like outline and explain how we've basically done the same thing.
That's right.
But from our, I guess, industry domain perspective, which is like, how do you run and operate a podcast and a YouTube channel and all these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar, right? And one of these 10 apps that we talked about eventually we're going to have, one of them will probably be that. Just like this guy packaged everything he figured out into a flow that is usable for other people to streamline, again, the whole industry, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in that industry, it's better just to use this app and try to figure out what he did, how he did it. And you just use this app. All of a sudden, it cuts down your engineering time from days to a few hours, and you can kind of move on, with the rest of the pipeline, right, so to speak. So yeah, what he did is huge, right? And we're going to see this a lot more often. And if you're in an industry that doesn't deal with like high tech, you have an opportunity, right? You could take that domain knowledge, apply that with your AI interest, and really come up with something useful for your industry. And that's the real opportunity.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what we're figuring out and what we're trying to kind of relay through our own videos. And if, again, you probably haven't noticed yet because they haven't been posted.
Yeah.
There's a dramatic shift in like, production stylings coming from this channel. And a part of that is like, again, an attempt to kind of, I don't know if it's like trying to contribute to this, like reducing the AI fear pandemonium around all this stuff, because we've identified personal use of it. So
yeah,
it's we have firsthand exposure. Like AI is really nothing to be fearful of.
Yeah.
Therefore, we feel some kind of obligation. But also, it's not even just that. It's like we've identified value from it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, okay, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's cool.
It's really cool.
It's cool to use, an app and string together like an AI video. That's really cool.
Yeah,
and it only costs like $10.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So, TJ, how much time do we have left?
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Oh wow. Okay. Maybe we should talk about NAT.
You are wearing the shirt.
Yeah. Well, I think what's happening now, people are starting to wake up to the issue. So right now, Bitcoin's at 70,000 or whatever it is. It went as high as like 74 and change. And I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that the NAT token is becoming a little bit more critical than some originally thought. And because people are pointing out the issue with Bitcoin, right? The security budget issue. So NAT has been kind of on a tear where when everything else is going down, NAT at least hangs in there. If not, it goes up.
For sure, yeah.
And so as Magic Eden left the building, and NAT still went up 2x since that exodus.
It's true.
Right. So then we have we have like this huge, strong Chinese community. They just opened up the Binance chain accessibility to the NAT token. So I'm assuming eventually they're going to add their own liquidity to that pair, right? USDT or Binance chain and NAT. So soon enough, they're going to have that available on the Binance chain, and there probably is going to be a lot of activity there, given that the community is really large. And then on top of that, Spiderpool, Antpool has been actually selling NAT token recently too. And Spiderpool should be coming out with their dashboard, and not sure what they're waiting for, but eventually they're going to come out with it.
All that to say
is NAT is still around. NAT.fun is about to be released. It's going to be using NAT token. So people are speculating, how we're going to integrate the NAT token to NAT.fun. There's a reason why we're calling it NAT.fun, right? It's because not only the non-arbitrary part, but also because of the NAT token itself. And the whole purpose of it is to bring back value to the Bitcoin network. And NAT is literally the only token that exists within cryptocurrency that really helps Bitcoin. The only one.
Yeah. And
there's nothing else, dude.
Shocker, right? That's like even considered in this day and age.
Yeah, literally every token that exists goes to compete with Bitcoin. Every single one. From Ethereum all the way down.
So how does NAT help Bitcoin?
The way it helps is it's a second subsidy to the Bitcoin miners. And so with a second subsidy, it doesn't have the same mechanics as Bitcoin does with the halving. So every 4 years, Bitcoin halves. And that means that the subsidy of Bitcoin that is sent to miners halves every 4 years. And so if you go look up what halving means, like from a mathematical standpoint, that is an exponential decay. And so why would anyone care about that? Well, the problem with that is that miners rely on the subsidy to pay the bills. Paying the bills is equivalent to the security of the network. And so the miner revenue is the security of the network. And so what happens when Bitcoin halves, that means their revenues are cut in half every 4 years. Well, so what, right? Bitcoin went from $0 to $100,000. That's exponential growth. It's like, okay, yes, that is exponential, but you need to maintain exponential growth forever. And nothing has ever done that.
Right. Yeah, and it is interesting to see the East more so than the West, truly gravitate towards this understanding.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, right? It's just, I don't know, more palatable. Yeah. And it got me thinking, because there's a similar dynamic happening in AI. There's much more embracing of AI from the East.
Yeah, they're leading from open source models.
Well, not just that, just public sentiment wise.
That's true, yeah.
NVIDIA announced some new graphics upgrades that are AI derived, I guess. And you just read the comments on YouTube or X, and it's just people shitting on it.
Yeah.
And these are people speaking English, right?
Yeah.
But if you go look at Chinese or other Asian communities, they're fully embracing this. This is marvelous stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of actually a big cultural gap between the perception of AI. Maybe that same thing applies to NAT, and I don't know, it's the fundamental nature of a token like NAT. It's not just a hype machine. It's not a hype beast. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the evidence suggests you're right. If you look at the 4 miners that are supporting the NAT token, all of them are in the East.
Yeah, that too. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
The miners themselves and the public sentiment. If you go on X, you see who are the communities holding they're holding like 24-hour like 10-cent conversations
Oh yeah.
and shit like that.
Yeah, we joined a conversation. I happened to join on a random moment just because I needed to download the app and make sure it worked for the actual call. I jumped in, and there was like 30 people in there, like just talking about NAT. And then once they realized I was in there, then it turned to like 150 people in like a few minutes. It was like pretty weird. And so I was just testing, and then the next day was the actual call.
Yeah,
and there was over 300 people in that call.
Yeah, I remember you hearing it's like, or I remember hearing you say, "Is like, is it normal you guys here just like chatting about?" And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
we do this, you know.
Yeah, it's literally it's a call that anyone can join 24/7, and there's people always in there talking about that.
Yeah, I mean that's badass. That's
Yeah.
really cool, and that's, I don't know. It's like, how do you feel about that? It's like, it's definitely feels like, you know, again, we talked about it in our last NAT video, like,
Yeah.
it's taking a life of its own. You know, it's like transitioning into something of its own nature, right? And
Yeah.
It's like completely autonomous, if you will, if a token could achieve such a thing.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what you would hope, but it's also what you would expect for a token that actually addresses a big problem. And it's a problem that people do not recognize all that often. There's some that do, but the big talking heads, you know, they just say TikTok next block, nothing to worry about.
That's
Move on.
dude, that's so triggering.
I know. I know.
TikTok next block, dude.
I know. It's just like you're basically ignoring the problem, which I get it. I mean, if you believe in Bitcoin, you believe in it with all your atoms.
With religious fervor.
Yeah. And so it's impossible to think that Bitcoin has a problem. I get it, but it does.
Yeah.
It's a math problem. Anyone can go verify it. You don't have to believe me.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's why I find it interesting. Just, you know, slowly NAT is climbing to its, you know, its deserved place, at least within the Bitcoin ecosystem, as king of all tokens, right?
Yeah.
Right now it's, I think, number 3, number 2 Ordi, number 1 Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just whatever's below that, you know, just do like a fundamental analysis if you remember how to do that.
Yeah.
Around these tokens, and, you know, be objective and honest about, you know, what you're assessing here.
Yeah.
And that clearly stands out. And so, and again, I think, you know, the reason why it's taking this long for price to like match up to that reality, it's because of the cultural differences, I guess.
Yeah,
that
it's a
that
new thing.
exist.
Just like Bitcoin.
Cultural nuances, I guess.
Bitcoin was a new thing when it was first introduced.
Yeah, it's just in this day and age, in this class of crypto user or enthusiast, just fundamentals is just not a thing to be burdened with.
It's not a muscle that people have
That's right.
used often these days.
Yeah, we're basically like just dilapidated.
Yeah.
It's like that meme, right? We used to be Chads,
Right.
Chad cryptos guys, or like buff, big brained.
Yeah.
You know, we thought we were gonna take over everything and solve real problems, and then, yeah, we
didn't.
soyed out, dude.
Yeah.
We soyed out.
Yeah, that's a problem. And ultimately, crypto has like a huge use case. The huge one being Bitcoin, store of value. I think that's a huge one. It hasn't really taken effect all that much. I mean, Michael Saylor's assuming it will, and maybe he's right? But the other huge one is the stable coins. That's a massive one. And then we have a few things like HyperLiquid and, you know, a handful of like
Tokenized equities and such.
apps that have traction, a handful.
Yeah.
And this industry collectively is worth like $2 trillion or something like that, which is weird. So yeah, I mean, it'll find its time, especially when agents start taking hold. Agents can't get a bank account; they don't have IDs. They're going to be able to get a wallet and start interacting with all these like applications, and paying for API calls, X402. As a matter of fact, our NAT.fund is going to be supporting not only APIs but CLIs and MCPs. And so, if you don't know what that means, you got a lot of looking up to do.
Yeah, and we're gonna do our best, I think, to,
Yeah.
you know, uncover these mysteries and such. And in part, in doing that, you know, there's gonna be a whole new demographic
Yeah.
paying attention to all this stuff. So I wonder how like the AI and crypto bros are gonna behave? Because we're kind of like bringing them together.
That's true. The AI people do not like crypto. I mean, you could just look at Peter Steinberger's like interpretation of whatever happens in crypto. He hates it.
Yeah.
He hates it.
Yeah, and then he's like a godlike figure in the AI ecosystem. So whatever he hates, I should too. So yeah, we're expecting quite a rift within our own community once we start to like onboard more people who are seeking AI knowledge. And
I think ultimately this rift, it's just on Twitter. I think in real life there's no rift. It's just it's a rift for the entertainment and the interaction.
Yeah, again, it's culture things.
Yeah.
There's cultural rifts, right? Yeah, and then it translates into keyboard battles.
Yeah, keyboard warriors, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. I mean, really, NAT is one of those things that if you're 10 years too early, you know, what a bad time to be, right? It's like what a terrible mistake being 10 years too early to NAT or 10 years too early to Bitcoin. It's just a matter of time before this problem manifests itself and makes itself obvious. In the same way, quantum computing will make itself obvious.
Yeah.
And so Michael Saylor, they're already preparing for this quantum computing solution. They're investing in whatever that solution is going to be. Bitcoin will make an update, and then eventually, once that's like in the rearview mirror, they're going to talk about the security budget because you can't have exponential growth. So I think everybody's doing their part in their community to get this message out there, and they're doing a great job. We open up our Twitter accounts, and it's like nothing but NAT speak.
It's pretty insane.
It's crazy how consistent the community has been.
I totally agree.
After 3 years, man, this thing launched November 20th, 2023, and almost 3 years later, we're still talking about it.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's impressive and it's inspiring and all the above, right? It's just something you want to see continue on. And again, it's for obvious reasons. You know, it's addressing a core issue at the fundamental levels of Bitcoin itself, and people, there's smart people out there who will agree to this thesis and understand, like you're saying, the time positioning of that. There's value in that. Right?
Yeah.
And it's something worth supporting in a world that seems to be lacking a lot of that, right? Something worth supporting in cryptos specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we always said that that's what's lacking in crypto is like something to actually believe in.
It's not just us.
Yeah.
That's like a mantra, pretty widely encompassing. Believe in something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is an app.
It's called Believe.
Believe, yeah.
Those guys didn't believe, dude.
No.
They're not. I don't even think they're around at all.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? He's on a yacht right now.
Pasternak,
yeah.
And his girlfriend who just consumes Hermes bags or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, good for them.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And good for the OpenSea situation, the guy.
Yeah.
Similar situation.
Yeah, they have a full security unit. Everywhere they go.
Yeah. I mean, so whatever. If you're tired of seeing headlines like that, again, we urge you to pay attention to what's going on here because it's tough to find substance in these trenches of crypto. And, it exists, but it has to be like, really looked for, I guess. And that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah. So a couple of things I want to hear some feedback from you guys is check out our audio version of the podcast, listen to the first few seconds, and give us your feedback. I mean, all that was AI, I guess, pipelined. It basically, as soon as we're done recording this, we take the MP4 file, we drag and drop it into a particular folder the agent has access to, and then it's off to the races. It transcribes it, it generates a description off to the transcription, and then it creates a timestamps, and then it takes the audio music portion, it compiles everything into the audio podcast, and literally in 10 minutes later, the audio version of this podcast is already edited. And so it's crazy because this used to be done by humans, and it took a minute. It took quite a long time to get it all set up and complete through humans. But in agent time, it's like minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, if you're running a podcast and you want that capability, definitely hit us in the DMs, and we'll figure something out to get you access to this beta software that we've been working on.
Yeah, and I think we'll do some more hopefully in the near future, some deep diving on, NAT.fun related,
Yeah.
Discussions and, demonstrations and such, because, there's such a big deal as like NAT.fun being the center stage demonstration of like,
Yeah, especially in a moment where NFTs are just not it right now.
Yeah.
It's like the metaverse is way more dead than NFTs, but NFTs is like right there.
Yeah, so I feel like, we could talk about our proposal solutions to this problem that we've identified,
Yeah.
but showing and walking through like the reasoning and logic of like what got us to where the product that we have, I think is going to be astronomically more valuable, right? So yeah, expect that to come hopefully within the next week or two. And yeah, from that, if you like what you see, definitely get involved, because it requires, participants in order for this whole thing to actually take off, right?
Yeah, participants or agents, right? If you have an agent, you could just hook it up to NAT.fun and experiment with collections and launching whatever the agent thinks makes sense given what's happening out there. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
And you'll have, if you don't know how to code and you don't know how to build collections, NFT collections, we'll have a tool for that too. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, looking forward to like seeing that. Specifically the things you've been conjuring up, dude. They're quite hilarious, dude. Like every time I see them, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some charm into it.
For sure. It definitely brightens my day when I see it. So yeah, let's see what you guys think. We'll need feedback from all this too.
Yeah. All right, well, let's call it here. That's it for us. Again, definitely hit us in the DMs if you have any questions with access to this whole podcast flow thing that we got going on. We have another agentic application that we're developing that's helping us build stuff that if you guys want access to, definitely hit us in the DMs. And then stay tuned for updates on NAT.fun. We think it addresses a big problem in the NFT space. And we got a ton of creators waiting to launch on that itself. So appreciate you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.